Hi everyone, welcome to another video, and today I'm going to talk about the most common reasons as to why some players have the club laid off at the top of the swing and what to focus on specifically so that you can fix it. If you enjoy this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to see more golf related content. Let's get into it. So when you hear someone referring to being laid off at the top, they're referring to the direction that the club head is pointing at the top of the swing. So if someone is laid off, their club head would typically be pointing more so behind the golfer and the butt end more in front. So you also might be wondering what this position causes or why it's not typically ideal. And the reason is because the positioning of the club at the top in many ways can dictate what you do during your downswing. So for a golfer that is laid off at the top, in order for them to get the club head delivered into the ball correctly, they have to get the shaft working more steeply or get the shaft kind of to get more vertical on the way down. Now, if a player who's laid off does not get the shaft vertical and they keep the shaft horizontal coming in, the club will be too far behind them and they'll most likely deliver the club too much from the inside. But this can work for some players, and a great example would be Ricky Fowler or even John Ram. So they're both laid off at the top, but they're able to consistently deliver the club head back on the proper plane on the way down. So the thing with most amateurs is, once you get them in a very laid off position, they tend to get the shaft working too vertically to where the club is thrown outside and delivered outside and across the golf ball to the left too excessively. So the reverse is true for players who are across the line. In order for them to deliver the club properly, they have to get the shaft working more flat or shallow out the shaft in their downswing. So the goal for the proper top position is that we don't want the players having to make too much of an adjustment in order for them to deliver the club head into the ball correctly. So typically with most players, the cause of this issue is one of two things, or even both at the same time. So the most common reason as to why people would get laid off at the top happens in the initial takeaway. So what happens is, when a player takes it back, their wrists break in a way so that the club head gets behind their hands and behind their bodies way too early in their backswing. And so when they get to the top, if they maintain this position with their wrists, they get in a very laid off position that looks like that. Okay? So now the second cause is more so what they're doing with their bodies. So for a person that takes it back, if they raise their lead shoulder to where at the top of the swing their shoulders appear very level, that would be the second reason as to why people would get laid off at the top. So if I just showed you quickly what that would look like, it would look something like that. Or it would be a combination of two. Kind of like this. So in order to solve this issue, we essentially have to train you to work the shaft in the opposite pattern, where the shaft becomes more vertical in the backswing and flattens out more in the downswing. So it's important to note that you have to identify what your own specific issue is. You may or may not be suffering from both of these things at the same time. So if you're a player that struggled more so with the initial takeaway and what you're doing with your wrists, right, you first have to understand what you've done. So people who are kind of in this position, what happens is their wrist breaks kind of side to side this way. Okay? So second is that their forearms tend to roll or rotate to where their forearms appear very, very level here. Okay? So in order to solve this issue, we need to get the shaft of the club getting more vertical in the backswing. So you have to feel the opposite of what I just described. So in your takeaway, you have to feel as though your forearms will be rotating to where the right forearm stays more on top, and that will keep the club head more in front of the hands. And then when you bring the club up more, you can see that the shaft is just a bit more vertical at this point. Okay, so I think the key for you to focus on is just how you're rotating your forearms. So you can see that my right forearm stays more on top, whereas before, when you broke the wrist, you can see that my forearms kind of rolled or rotated more so in the other direction. Now, if you're a player that struggled more so with the body in the backswing, you'll just have to understand that as you take it back, your lead shoulder kind of raised, so your posture became more upright, to where when you get to the top of the swing, your shoulders are very, very level. What you want to ensure is that when you take it back, your lead shoulder is lower than your right shoulder. Okay, so this will mean that you've maintained your inclination to the ground, and so will be less likely to have the shaft of the club pointing too flat or laid off like this. If I were to adjust my posture, you can see that the club at the top is a lot less kind of laid off, as long as I don't change my wrist positions. So now that you have a better understanding of what the causes are, I'm going to share with you 2 drills that'll help you give you a really good feeling as to what it's like to get to a good top position. Okay, so both of these drills will involve a wall right here like this. So for the first one, this one's going to help you feel what it's like to maintain the tilting in your shoulders. So this is going to prevent you from raising your lead shoulder in the backswing. So all you'll need is a golf club, and you just put this across your chest, and you just want to make sure that there's a few inches, maybe 2 to 3 inches of the club extending past your lead shoulder as you have the club across here. So next is you want to get your normal posture and place your head right up against the wall. Okay, so now if you do raise this lead shoulder, what you'll find happens is that the shaft of the club kind of smacks the wall. Okay, so now if you maintain the tilt in your shoulders, what will happen is as you turn, you'll notice that for you to continue your turn, that extension that goes past your shoulder will miss the wall. Okay, so if I raise my lead shoulder, you can see how it hits the wall. If I keep the tilt in my shoulders, you can see that the extension misses the wall. So give that a try. It should help you have a really good feeling as to what it's like to maintain the inclination to the ground. Okay, so this drill will help give you the proper feeling for how to take the club back more vertically and less with a wrist break and the club getting too far behind you. So you just want to make sure you grip the club kind of near the club head end, just so you don't smack the wall and make a hole. But what you want to do is you'll get into your normal posture like this with your butt against the wall. Okay, and when you take the club back, if you are doing what your normal habit is, you'll find that the club head kind of touches or gets in contact with the wall well before your hands do. Okay, so you want to actually feel just what we talked about, right? The rotation where the right forearm stays on top of the left, and you visually want to see that the hands are closer to the wall than the club head is. Okay, so not like this to where the club head is touching the wall and the hands are further away from the wall, but rather when you rotate the forehand on top and the hands go around you, you'll see that the hands are closer than the club head would be. So give these drills a try, and if you guys are doing this properly or applying these drills correctly, you should have the shaft of the club pointed down the line of your heels. And so the benefit of being in this position is that you don't have to make as many adjustments in order for you to deliver the club on plane. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys need any further clarification on anything, please leave a comment down below. Be sure to follow me on my Instagram at Jonathan K. Moss. But other than that, I will see you guys on the next video.